Hello and welcome to our Scribe Insight presentation. My name is Rich Rodacey and I'm a sales engineer here at Scribe Software. Today's presentation I'll be talking about the Scribe Insight Workbench and Console, an integration platform that's really helping many companies out there bridge the gap between their disparate applications, at the same time providing additional value to their existing applications. So let's talk a bit about the component-based architecture that makes up the Scribe Insight platform. As you can see on this slide here, several components that make it up. The Scribe server, this is where you install the bits for our premise implementation. This can be an existing application server, it could be a dedicated server, it's up to you. As long as it is of a Windows platform, Windows 2003 or greater, we can certainly be installed on that application. Now we also provide a couple applications with the implementation of the product, and that would be the Workbench and the Console. And you can see those icons represented on both sides of the server there. Workbench is typically where you create your data maps. That would basically define how data is going to flow between the endpoints that make up the migration and or integration. And then the Console is where all the automation features are of the product, so that you can basically run, monitor, and track things that are happening with your integrations. The template icon that you see directly above the server, that is really referring to our solution templates. And the solution templates are pre-configured Workbench data maps, as well as any automation features that we've implemented, are bundled up and made available as free downloads from our website. These can certainly be installed, used as is, or if you wanted to modify them, add to it, remove from it, it's up to you. It's all a point-and-click environment. No programming involved in terms of using this product. We do ship with technology adapters. It'll be ODBC based, would allow me to connect into, let's say, a DB2 database, or maybe a MySQL database, as a few examples. And we also provide application adapters that would allow you to connect into, let's say, Dynamics CRM Online, or maybe Salesforce.com. Maybe it's an XML component. We provide application adapters that will allow you that opportunity. So that's a quick look at the component-based architecture, how things come together to make up the Scribe platform. Now, what we're going to talk about first are the of those two components that make up the platform, the Workbench and the Console. We're going to be talking about the Workbench. And again, this is where you create those designs. This is where a designer would say, okay, I need to satisfy this migration requirement within the organization, or integration requirement, and these are the endpoints that I need to connect into. So via this utility, via this program, the Scribe Workbench is where you would do that definition. You'd orchestrate those particular designs. What I'd like to do is, let's go ahead and take you into the application, the Workbench, to show you how this comes together. Okay, so what you're seeing here on the screen is the user interface for the Scribe Workbench. There are three primary windows of interest as you look at the interface. Here at the top left, this is our source window. Top right is our target window. And then down below here is our data link window. So the whole notion of using the Scribe Workbench, I break it down into a three-step process. Step number one is to identify your endpoint connections. What is it that I need to connect into? Step number two is, with those connections in place, now leverage the objects and their fields that will allow you to dictate how data is going to flow from your source into your target or targets. And then step number three is, and this is an optional step, you certainly don't have to use that, and that is laying down transformation functions to those links that you've created within step two. All right, simple, straightforward. 1, 2, 3, and you've got yourself a data map. So what I want to do is just take you through a little bit of this, and let me go ahead and start with the Connection Manager. Here at the top, I'm going to go ahead and initiate the Connection Manager dialog. This is where you create those endpoint connections that you want to leverage. Currently, I already have a couple identified within this dialog. That's because I have a map loaded within the Workbench. However, if I wanted to create new connections, just come over here to the right, click on Add, and pick and choose the different application adapters that you would like to use. So under this one, this would be the Scribe application adapters that we have built from ground zero, leveraging the APIs of those respective applications. And then any of the other ODBC drivers, we call them technology adapters, that you would need to use to connect into that MySQL database or XLS or a CSV file, those types of things. And those would all be noted down here under the ODBC section. So very simple to get into the connection manager, pick and choose what application adapter or technology adapters that you would like to use for the migration or the integration at hand. So with your connections defined, your next step is to, exercise those connections and expose those here within the windows. On the source side, it's just a matter of clicking on Configure Source, and you will be presented with a dialog where you can go ahead and drill down under the various objects that are available to you, depending on your connection point. In this case, I'm connecting into XML on my source side, so here I'm using the XML object. So if I drill down, you can quickly see all the fields that make up that XML component. So from this view, you can certainly utilize this to map your source fields into your target fields. Over on the target side, if I click on Configure Steps here, I think the first thing that will probably jump out at you is the step order logic, the graphics that you see here on the right side. This really represents a high-level view of what this map is doing for you. Let's say it was designed by somebody else and this is your first time looking at it. Well, a quick way for you to understand what it's doing is to come in here and take a look at the Configure Steps section, and you can now see the logic that makes up this particular map. So there you can see we've got 5 steps connecting into various objects within the target, all performing different functions. You can see a seek, doing an update, and we're doing an insert. You identify via point and click how data is going to flow amongst those steps. So you can see in step 1 there, I've got a 0 line coming out of that step, which basically implies that I'm sourcing, or I'm looking at a source record. I'm going out into the target. I'm going to perform a seek. I don't find it, indicated by a 0. Let's go ahead and insert that into step 4, as you can see we have down here. So if I don't find what I'm looking for, let's insert. However, if I do find what I'm looking for, let's follow the 1 path and let's perform an update. So if you read between the lines, what we're offering you is a way to eliminate the potential of you creating duplicates within your target. However, if you did have duplicates in your target and they were legitimate duplicates, then obviously maybe you need to be a bit more granular in terms of isolating that record on that seek step. So maybe instead of just using, let's say, a customer name, maybe I'd want to use street number, street name, city, state, postal code, any additional criteria that I could use to be a bit more granular in isolating that record on the target side. So again, you pick and choose the objects, you pick and choose the endpoints that you want to connect to, and you can build out your logic via this graphical interface here. Okay, so with your graphics or with your step logic in place, you are now exposed the fields that you would like to link between your source and your target. And you do that just by selecting a source field, coming over here to the target and selecting the appropriate target field. Once you do that, you click on Data Link. I now have a new link in place. We also provide some additional functionality where you can do auto link based on exact name matches or fuzzy name matches. So certainly some additional efficiencies within the product allow you to build these maps certainly a lot quicker and get them out into production in a short amount of time. If I wanted to transform that data before it gets committed into the target, how do you do that? Well, the link that you've just created, all you need to do is just double click on it. The formula dialog will appear, and as you can see up here, there's my source field of the data link that we just previously created, source field 22. Down here is my function library. We have over 150 Excel-like functions that are available to you to use within your designs. Logical expressions such as your ands, your ifs, your ors, regular expressions, searching for a pattern of text and replacing it with something else. Text functions such as concatenate. You'll note that anytime that you click on one of these functions, we give you a little help string here that tells you what that's all about, as well as the required syntax to implement this within your design. So if I wanted to use concatenate on this link that we've just created, how would you do that? Simply double click on the word concatenate and it now builds out the string at the very top there. What do I want to concatenate the contents of source field 22 with? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and type in additional text, and I'll come down here and click on OK. Forgot my double quote. Click on OK. And now my new data link has been created and I have my formula attached to it. So very simple to build this out and use those functions. If you're familiar with Microsoft Excel, this will be second nature. Now, with your map in place, your next step is to test it. You certainly don't want to roll this out in production and find out later that, somebody calls you up and says, hey, this design is not producing the results that I would expect in the target. I'm getting data that I don't need. This is the wrong data. So what you can do here directly within the Workbench is test out your designs to ensure that they are producing the results that you would expect. And you do that by clicking on this little test button here at the very top. On the left side over here, these are all your source fields, the data within each and every one of your source fields. Over here, only the target fields that you've chosen to link to, as well as the data within each and every one of those links, and how that data may look based on any function or formula that you've applied. So if you look at these two selected fields, both on the source and the target side, you can see how the conditioning of that source data has transformed based on the function that we've used on that data link. So there you can see as that data moves into the target system, the phone number is now going to look like that versus what it looked like before it was processed. So a great way again to get the validation that this map is certainly going to deliver. You can also see what step you're in within your design. So you built out your logic, and what this is showing you here is based on this source data that I'm currently consuming, these are the steps that I'm running through within the design that you've built. So here I performed a seek. I did not find what I'm looking for. I'm dropping into step 4 where I'm performing the insert, and then subsequently adding some internet information into the other object within the targets field or within the target database. So a great way again to ensure that your map is ready for production. You can go through these tests. If I wanted to run it, we do have a button here at the top where you can actually run this as a one-off, and then data would flow between your source to the target. However, the majority of individuals that use this product, they decide they would rather set it and forget it, and they can certainly do that using the Scribe Console. All right, so let me go back into my PowerPoint presentation. And let's take a look at the Scribe Console a little bit. So this is the second component of the Scribe Insight platform. This is where all the automation features are available, all the management parameters that you can define how your integrations are going to run. Let's take a quick look at how that comes together. All right, so I'm going to bring up the Scribe Console. Here is the interface. You can see that split screen. Left side is my navigational panel. Right side is my reference information based on what I'm currently working with. So over on the left, we've got 3 folders of interest: a collaborations folder, we have an integration server folder, and we have an administration folder. Collaboration folder, the word collaboration is just a term that we use to logically identify multiple data maps that would support a specific business process. So, I could have a collaboration called the web leads into CRM, or maybe another collaboration that is a CRM Dynamics GP integration, order to invoicing, those types of things. So each collaboration is specific to a unique business process, and it's comprised up of its own integrations that support that business case. So as you can see, I've got about 7 or 8 different collaborations currently within my Scribe Console, and I've got the ones that I had just mentioned. So I've got the web leads into CRM. So maybe this is going out to my web portal, and it's capturing those web leads that visitors had landed on my web page. They're showing some interest. I want to now capture those as a lead into my CRM deployment. So you can have a collaboration that just does that. Once those leads have hopefully converted into a customer, you can then change the relationship type, let's say within Dynamics CRM, to customer type equals customer, and then at that point that customer can now freely flow based on my other integration here, which is CRM GP. It will now flow that new customer down into the back office, where you can certainly the ERP folk can certainly work against those and due diligence in terms of qualifying them from a financial perspective, if that being the case. So again, the whole point here is you can create multiple collaborations connecting into all those different disparate data stores all at the same time. You can pause them, you can run them all together. It's up to you how you'd like to deploy these. The next folder here is the integration server folder, and the integration server folder basically allows you different views, if you will, of the definitions within your Scribe Console. So for example, integration processes. We support 4 types within our product. We support file-based, time-based, query-based, and queue-based. File-based is a file that drops into a Windows folder that we're watching. We see it, we pick it up, we consume it, and we move it into the target, the contents of that. A query-based is a SQL query into a relational database, and if that query comes back at least with a single record, that will fire the running of your integration, as well as use that source data that's returned from that query as data to that integration. Then there's a queue-based. Queue-based is very similar to a file-based, however we're using XML as the fundamental data type. So XML would drop into a Microsoft message queue. We would sense it, we would read the label to make sure we're processing the right one, and if that is the correct one, we'll go ahead and consume the XML and move the data into the target based on the data map, that Workbench file that we've created within the Scribe Insight platform. And then the final one out of the 4 is a time-based. This is based on the schedule. I want this to run between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. or maybe I just want it to run on the weekend. So you set a schedule that makes sense for you. So we support all 4 types, and you can pick and choose how you want to use these across each and every one of the collaborations that you decide to create here in the Scribe Console. We have this notion of monitors within the Scribe Console. So I want to make sure I keep my finger on a pulse of how my integrations are running. I want to make sure that they're running like a well-oiled machine, and if there is any hiccup in terms of their running, I want to know about that. So you can set yourself up with system-based monitors. And you'll see I'll just select the system-based monitors within this list here. So these are basically going to report on any anomalies that may occur with the running of your integrations. You can also extend the monitor capability here within the Scribe Console to be business-based. So maybe from a business-based perspective, maybe I want to track, let's say, which accounts are on credit hold in my ERP application. And if I do find that, I want to go ahead and alert the district sales manager, letting that person know that we've got some issues, potential issues here from a financial perspective on some of the customers that we have within our database. So you can set up as many of these as you like to be able to support the needs within your organization. Now, let's go down to the last folder here, and this is the administration folder. Any monitor that you would create and it fires based on some sort of condition that you set it to fire on, it will generate an alert, and those alerts are sent out via an email or a text page to a cell phone, letting a group of individuals know, or a specific individual, letting them know that this has occurred and that they've been notified, they've been engaged for potential support, or just providing them information about what this monitor found. So all those alerts, not only being sent to the appropriate individuals, they are captured here within the Scribe Console as well. So you can easily, from a system administrator perspective, come inside of the Scribe Console portal and take a look at those alerts that have fired so you can get some more detail. So here's one where my daily lead traffic is low. So I'm highlighting that. I'm going to take a look at the detail, and it tells me how many leads I got yesterday. In this case, it found 0. Or low leads. Here it is saying that I had less than 10 leads that were received from our website within the last 24 hours. So, this is critical information to the running of your business. So maybe you want to set up these monitors that will go ahead and look for these things, and if they do find a condition, it will go ahead and generate an alert and let you know all about it. The last thing I'll share with you here are data views. You can certainly create data views within our product, and these data views really allow you to exercise your data. May not have to do anything with the integrations that you've defined here within the Scribe Console. These data views can reach into any of those other disparate applications, such as a MySQL database, or maybe an Oracle database, or a Sybase database. I want to reach into that data, and I want to pull that data back so that it gives me some sort of visual, if you will, of how that data looks, so that I can make appropriate decisions against that. So an example from an operational perspective, what's the traffic going through my system on a day-to-day basis? Well, here you can see I just launched this one data view, and it's bringing back this 3D perspective that's showing me exactly what that's going to look like. In your mind's eye, think of this as, let's say, orders in an orders table over a span of 3 months, and I'm seeing a lot of peaks and valleys here. Well, maybe this is an indication to me as a district sales manager that those valleys seem to be consistent from month to month. So maybe what I want to do is try to maybe offer some sales incentives to try to boost up those valleys, or maybe a new marketing campaign to try to affect the way these valleys are consistently showing themselves. So a great way to exercise that data, bring it back so that you can make appropriate decisions against it. All right, so that's a little bit about the console. Certainly a lot more here, but we want to just give you a brief overview of exactly what these two components do. All right, let me go ahead and jump back into my PowerPoint presentation. And let's talk about the adaptability of Scribe Insight. And as you can see on this graphic here, we've got many different opportunities available to you to be able to leverage those other disparate data stores. I talked about this earlier, that this is the Scribe Insight platform. We're not a point-to-point solution. We allow you to reach into these other data stores so as to include those within your migration and or integration strategy. It's up to you. The technology is there. It's up to you if you want to use it, if it makes sense. Maybe your focus today would be just on, let's say, a SQL CRM type of integration. But as you see that working, and maybe you acquire other companies, other organizations, decide that they have some data that might be of value to you, well, knowing that you have all these opportunities to connect into those other different data stores, you can then include those within your strategy as well. So here you can see a kind of a list going around this wheel, the various technology connectors that we have, as well as our application adapters. Okay, so this takes us to the end of today's presentation. I hope this was of value to you. I thank you very much for your time. If you do have any questions, you can certainly reach out to us at that email address there, demos@scribesoft.com. Make sure if you do decide to use that, tell us what video that you watched so that we can know exactly how best to respond based on the content. And then our website, you can see there, is scribesoft.com, and our corporate phone number, 603-622-5109. If you want to speak to somebody live about our product, pricing, or whatever the case may be, certainly don't hesitate to reach out to us. So thank you very much for your time.